Oh boy, do I have a topic that will start a comment storm for you guys today. Welcome back to another video, and in this one, I want to talk about how trucking is affected by illegal immigration. Now, before I actually start, this is not an invitation to start bashing all immigrants. I'm an immigrant turned American citizen myself. I came here 15 years ago. I studied my whole life in an American school. I love this country. But when we're talking about illegal immigration, yeah, that is an issue. And that issue has turned deadly this month. So let's chat about it. Ready? Let's go. So first and foremost, if we're talking about trucking, we know that one of the biggest issues is the fact that the capacity is too robust for the amount of loads that are available. And something that we keep going back to is COVID. But another big issue is the fact that some of that capacity is completely illegal. So according to Landline, a South African worker who drove trucks for two Iowa companies, despite being brought on an H-2A visa rather than an H-2B visa, can proceed with his lawsuit. Now, for those who are unfamiliar with immigration and visa types, H-2A visas are for temporary agricultural workers where, and I'm quoting the USCIS here, it allows U.S. employers or U.S. agents who meet specific regulatory requirements to bring foreign nationals to the U.S. to fill temporary agricultural jobs. Now, the H-2B visas are pretty much the same thing, but for non-agricultural workers. Now, Landline continues to write that this gentleman from South Africa claims the immigration work placement company conspired with two Iowa business owners to pay workers less for trucking operations by misclassifying their visa status, which is the agricultural work. This lawsuit accuses Kuchenbecker Excavating and H&S Farms Livestock and its owners of exploiting numerous H-2A workers from South Africa by paying them agricultural rates but forcing them to drive a truck, which requires an H-2B visa and higher pay. In addition to lying about the agricultural operations, both companies are accused of creating a scheme that employed an H-2A worker for several years rather than seasonally. Now, I'm not sure whether they transported their own goods or whether they transported products for someone else, but the point is, this is just one instance where we find out that a carrier with a US DOT, an active MC number, authorized for hire, I checked their safer web profile, they hired drivers completely illegally. And you can't blame the person with the visa here. This is a carrier who found a way to save money and therefore earn money. In other words, it's crap. Now, this is just one scenario, but unfortunately, there was another one that this month turned deadly, where according to CDL Life, a 47-year-old Ignacio Cruz Mendoza was involved in a fatal crash while driving his semi-truck on US 285 in Jefferson County, Colorado, and this was on June 11th. Cruz Mendoza was hauling metal pipes and angle iron at the time of the wreck and overturned the truck while going at least 65 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. The wreck dumped the load of metal onto 5 other vehicles. 1 person was killed and 1 person was seriously hurt. Cruz Mendoza was not injured in the incident. Now, here comes the kicker. According to Denver ABC7, Cruz Mendoza has been removed and returned to Mexico at least 16 times since his arrest in 2002 and was ordered once again to be removed from the country just 2 weeks before this fatal crash actually happened. He was driving for Monique Trucking LLC at the time of the accident, and the company has not commented on what happened. Now, this particular story, it just is heart-wrenching because this is a situation that could have been avoided. Of course, I'm not saying that lawful immigrants or American-born drivers are immune to these types of situations because, after all, we are in the trucking industry and this industry is really dangerous. But this particular situation could have and should have been avoided. But That's not where the video ends. That's not all. There is also Oregon, the state of Oregon, where, according to Landline, Oregon has applied for a limited exemption from federal CDL rules regarding acceptable proof of citizenship or lawful permanent residency. Now, they're only talking about this exemption for the freely associated states. Now, if you're not aware, usually a person who is not a US citizen must provide a valid unexpired permanent resident card. Now, for a person who is a citizen of freely associated states, Oregon would accept a valid unexpired passport and an I-94 form to prove that the individual entered the US lawfully. So now I have a question, and this is not a question with my opinion shoved into it, but I'm just curious, why is Oregon or the Oregon Department of Transportation requesting this exemption? I did read their request, and nowhere does it state the reason other than it being because Oregon is trying to uphold what the Compacts of Free Association calls a special and unique relationship that exists between the US and the freely associated states. And my follow-up question is, how far will this go? Something I have learned is that a one-time exemption often opens the doors for a snowball effect. How long before we start seeing exemption because there is a driver shortage that doesn't actually exist, or because there is a lack of interest in this industry after what we have been going through in it for the past almost 3 years? I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I would rather read what you guys have to say. Again, I'm an immigrant turned US citizen, so I kind of have the benefit, I suppose, of seeing both sides. The being an immigrant side and the process of trying to assimilate, and then also the side of loving this country to pieces and wanting to protect it as well as the folks who live here. So again, while I do not invite anyone to start bashing immigrants, I am one myself, I do want to hear your guys' opinions on illegal immigration and what it's doing to trucking. And also, more importantly, do you agree with what the Oregon DOT is doing, or do you think the Oregon DOT is in the wrong for seeking that exemption? So curious to read your comments. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me today and watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and keep learning. See you in the next video.